Hello and welcome to another episode of Mystique Femininity. Today we're going to be diving into a topic that's both spiritual and practical, which is the intuition. Often called the voice of the soul or the whisper of the divine feminine, intuition is a guiding light that connects us to higher wisdom and helps us align with our soul's purpose. Now, by the end of this episode, you will not only understand the immense power that comes from tapping into your intuition, but also be able to gain tools to start strengthening your intuition and also to differentiate between fear-based thoughts and that is coming from the divine and how to apply that to your everyday life. We're going to get right into it. Now, understanding intuition as the divine guidance. As a feminine being, you are gifted. You have been gifted at birth. And by that, I mean, intuition is not some random thing. It's not something that is coincidental. If you're into anything of the spiritual, you understand that there is no coincidences. Your feminine essence is essentially your magic power. It is your sacred connection to your inner goddess, to your higher self. Think of it as your internal compass. You have been gifted that by the divine feminine, and its purpose is to guide you through life's twists, turns, and cartwheels. Now, connecting to your higher wisdom. In our day-to-day, our modern society, our conditioning has been done in a way to disconnect you from your higher wisdom. So think of it this way. If everyone was dialed into their higher selves, a lot of the things that we experience as the collective, and even more dialed into just the collective feminine, we more than likely wouldn't see, or if we did, it would not have the impact that it has on our current reality as a collective. And so being able to tap into your intuition is going to connect you to your higher knowledge. It's going to help you navigate a lot of challenges, choices with clarity. And in the day-to-day of our world, there is such a huge focus on getting our attention. You know, social media is a big energy attention dragger, and that's done by design. Social media, TV, all those things were crafted in a way to be highly addictive in order to essentially deactivate your ability to tap into your higher self. And so by you being so tapped into something else, you're basically siphoning off your energy and your power. But if you're able to start tapping into your higher wisdom, then you can reroute that energy into yourself and watch yourself flourish. Now, often the things that we see in our world, the programming that's there, it is done in a way to constantly keep you in a spiral loop of fear. And what that also does, unfortunately, is that it begins to weaken your trust in your inner knowing and in your deeper connection to yourself and the universe. So I am someone who definitely believes in using whatever deviation modality that works for you. So if that's your Bible, if that is your tarot cards, if that is your crystals, if it is your pendulum, like whatever it is that you might use, we often are seeking information outside of self. We don't need anything other than ourselves. But the way that our society, and this modern society, has been geared and programmed and coded, it is a lot of the challenges that you'll face is being actually comfortable and confident in your own natural gifting. It's always seeking a guru, seeking an influencer, seeking someone who's a coach. There's nothing wrong with any of those things, but if you have to seek out and because you don't trust yourself, that right there is actually the bigger issue. Now, this is not against any sort of like therapist, like actual licensed clinical therapists, because there are benefits to those. But I'm speaking more of you can scroll on any social media and see someone who has some cards or YouTube channel or whatnot, saying that they have this information, this knowledge, but you do too. And the thing is that it's preyed upon that you don't trust you. And if you don't trust you, that's great for their purse, but not for you, because then you're continuing to weaken your energy flow, your life force. And again, there's now someone else who's siphoning off your powerful energy. And people understand that. There are some people who will redirect you to you, like myself, and there will be others that will exploit that very thing that is needing to be rebooted and recalibrated. It will be used and exploited to the max. Now, your soul's purpose. Each intuitive nudge that you get is the potential for you to be guided closer to your most higher, authentic self. Sometimes, and I will say for most times, those nudges are very subtle. Maybe sometimes it's a little bit stronger push. Sometimes your guides, ancestors might be a little reckless because you're not getting the message. So they got to do a little something to get your attention. But more times than not, it is going to be very subtle. And that is a little keynote. We'll get into it a little bit more, but that is a big indicator. If it is a subtle voice, not loud, brazen, but very soft, very subtle, understand the divine is always going to be soft, because it doesn't need to be loud. When you think about it, when you have to be loud, why are you needing to be loud? It's to garner attention. It is to destabilize. But a soft, calm voice, it's very sure, it's very confident. It doesn't need to do anything other than be. And that to me is always going to be the biggest indicator of, is this of me or is this of something else? But if it's loud, it's very chaotic, it's very pushy, that is fear, and that is not of you. And you can properly ignore it. And now sometimes you'll get breadcrumbs from the divine leading you to where they want you to go. Intuition isn't something that is always going to be you need to earn or find. Sometimes your intuition is going to give you things that are already within you. It's been within you. It's just waiting for you to trust it. Now, developing your intuition. Now we've been hidden spiritual. Now we're going to move into some of the practical. So, meditation and mindfulness. It is extremely important that you daily keep a hyper focus on being able to be quiet from the noise of the world and really focus in on your internal spiritual hygiene. The world is noisy. To me, the noise is almost like really grimy. And you wouldn't go to bed after being out in grime all day, multiple days a week. You're going to shower, you're going to clean. And that's the way I look at meditation and mindfulness. It's essentially cleansing away the grime so that you can see and hear and feel and acknowledge things properly. Because unfortunately, with our modern society, it pushes you away from doing the things in order for you to stay strong and calibrated. If you are constantly exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally, this is often done because we're not keeping up with our spiritual hygiene. We're not meditating. We're not tapping into our inner voice, our inner strength, essentially our inner battery. And so we're seeking outside of ourselves often. And this is constantly pulling us and draining us even more. So we're just constantly in this abyss. You are going to want to ensure that you do, if it's nothing more than 5 minutes a day, meditating, sitting with yourself, acknowledging things. And then this allows you to then be open as a channel for intuitive downloads to flow. Over the last few days, I have been getting a lot of downloads, and I've had to keep a notebook near myself so that I can write them, because they come and they go. And some things, they hit and it hits really quickly, and you have to be present in order to be able to capture that information. Sometimes the information is not meant to be shared. I did that recently as well. And when I tried to share it on a voice message, the voice message did not have sound. Nothing was wrong on my end. I feel that the divine purposely killed it so that it was not shared. It was just information that was for myself. Another way that you are able to practically start to strengthen your intuition is journaling. Treat your journaling as a sacred time for reflection. Write down your dreams, your hunches, things that you're seeing reoccurring, having recurring feelings. This oftentimes is going to be intuitive insights. And then a bigger area that is going to be a little uncomfortable, but it is going to be for your highest good, is listening to subtle signs and signals. Yes, I mentioned a second ago, your intuition, more times than not, will not come in a loud voice. Again, unless your ancestors or guides are really trying to get your attention and you're not paying attention, they may have to give you a little like shaken baby syndrome, just a little bit. But typically, it's not going to be done that way. So sometimes something can happen and you may say, oh, every time something like this happens, I get a flutter in my stomach, or I have this reoccurring thought, or I feel the hair in my neck raise up, or I just kind of feel a sense of peace about something, about a decision. That is all those subtle signs. But oftentimes we're so busy in the way that our world is, we're always looking at something else. We're always like looking at social media, constantly getting these little dopamine hits from outside, that we may notice these things, but they happen so innocuously that we ignore it. Like we just kind of blitz over it. Like something happens consistently, and until you maybe are asked a question about it, you don't pick up on the subtleties. Now, here's an exercise I want you to try. Sit in silence for about 5 minutes. Focus on a question or decision that you have really been pondering. And then I want you, while you're sitting in silence, notice your body and mind and how they respond. That first calm, non-judgmental answer is often your intuition. And you may get uncomfortable with it. I will say, with the intuition, the decisions that we need to make are often those that are pretty simple. They're not too difficult. It's not taking a lot of scheming and planning and scamming. It's pretty fluid, but we often ignore it because we think, oh no, that can't be the right answer. It has to be something more. And that typically is always my indicator that if it's something simple, straight to the point, I feel a sense of like, as soon as I think about it, I feel calm about it, then that's typically the answer. Now, I will say sometimes you will feel that that's the right answer, but you may not be ready for the action that may need to be happening for that. So I'll give an instance. In a past, there was a relationship that I needed to end. Every time I thought about that relationship and felt like I wanted to end it, I always felt this sense of calm, being able to think about life when I was not with this person anymore. It felt wonderful to not have that feeling of that person in my life. And as soon as I would think about it, I would become calm, but then would shrug it off because it's like, no, that can't be. I just need to work harder. I just need to accept these things. And the moment that I did finally take heed to the message, everything that I had been needing and wanting fell into place pretty instantaneously. And so sometimes we are sensing what we need, but we don't want to do what we need. And that's also going to be a means of trusting the intuition. You acknowledge it, you put it in your journal, and you may have to give yourself time and space to be able to be ready to take heed. Now, number 3, listen to your inner voice. I mentioned earlier, more times than not, when it comes to your intuition, it's going to be a soft, gentle nudge. Fear is going to shout at you, it screams at you, it curses at you. The intuition is going to whisper. Fear stems from past traumas or society conditioning, while intuition feels calm, direct, and very reassuring. Trusting your gut. Have you ever felt uneasy about something but ignored it only to later realize your gut was right? I've had this happen to me in a very, very hard lesson about a guy that I instantly felt bristled when I was in their presence. And instead of taking heed and removing myself completely, which could have prevented a very not great incident, I chose to ignore my intuition, and things transpired that could have been prevented. We have to take heed to the warnings that we get and not be scared of those warnings, but take them and be appreciative of it. And it's the gift of the divine. And we have to truly respect and love the gifts that we are given by the divine feminine. You start honoring these feelings, you'll become more attuned to them, and you will start moving fluidly to them. When you start to think, say, positive, you start to focus on what you desire in this life, in this reality, it will feel very uncomfortable for a while of constantly going into that mode. Like if you're someone who's really focused on manifesting, you have to, make the decision of what you want and then be firm about that and know and trust that it's going to occur. And what makes it difficult for a while in manifesting until you get something that does pop up that's significant is the constant monitoring of your thoughts and watching of what you're thinking and switching it when you do notice yourself drifting. The more that you start to trust your intuition, the more that it will become more automatic, the same way that manifesting does. Once you're in that frequency, it's pretty constant. It's just kind of like, it's just what I do. Like you're breathing right now while listening to this. You're not thinking about breathing. You're not actively telling yourself to breathe. You're doing it automatically. It becomes just kind of like in the background. That's the same thing that happens with our intuition. When we really dial into listening to it, appreciating it, getting stronger with it, and being more comfortable with it, it will become more automatic. You'll start to see it in the most subtle ways and most mundane things of your day-to-day. And it's wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. I'm constantly, even at work, can sense something. And then I may ask some questions or see how things play out. And typically it happens exactly the way the hunch that I felt. This is good and sometimes not so great. Sometimes it's not things I want to be true, but that is what it is. Here's a tip. Before dismissing a gut feeling, pause and ask, does this feel expansive or restrictive? Intuition is always going to point you towards growth, even if it's uncomfortable. So the answer you might, that you're seeking, you already know the answer. It's just not the answer that you want. Like, oh, should I talk to this guy anymore? Your gut is like, no, sis, leave that alone. And you're just like, no, I don't want that to be the answer. Now, what's going to help you to grow? What's going to help you blossom? That is going to be the focus. So, like moving right along into say how you can apply this in a practical way for relationships. Intuition can help you discern if someone is who's genuinely in your life or who isn't. Like, is this person really here for me, or are they here for what they can get out of me? Your gut feeling about someone's energy often holds truth. I know, again, in our society, we have been conditioned to ignore that. An instance would be a person who is, air quotes, nice. Niceness to me is extremely manipulative, and I don't trust it. Now, being kind is much different. Kind and nice oftentimes are used synonymously, but they're different in my opinion. Kind is kind of like a way of being. It's gentle, it's respectful, it honors boundaries, it does all the things. Niceness, though, I'm being nice to you so that you can do what I want you to do. Now, what I want you to do may not be anything nefarious, but it could be I want you to uphold a certain view of me. And if it is something more of the nefarious, I want you to basically deactivate your intuition. So when I ask for things, slowly building up to things to get more and more into what I want, you will be confused, or you will have this inner confusion about, I don't like what they're asking me, but they're so nice. And then if I do raise this up, other people will be on their side because, oh, that Joe guy is a nice guy. That can't possibly be right. When in actuality, your gut has told you exactly what tea is. Like, that is not it. But understanding and honoring those gut feelings is going to save you a lot of trouble, a lot of headache. Same goes with your career. Have you ever felt like an opportunity was off despite it looking good on paper? Your intuition knows when something isn't aligned with your purpose. Daily guidance is your intuition. So from choosing your best route home to deciding on major life changes, intuition is here for you every step of the way. But the key is that you have to allow it to be. Now, this week, I want to challenge you to do something. I want you to make a choice purely based on your intuition. No overthinking. Also, another key. When you start to overthink, let that be an indicator that you're off path. Overthinking is essentially you not trusting yourself. Like, really let that sit in. Overthinking equals I don't trust. Because if you trust what you're doing, there isn't a need to overthink it. An example, you know how to get home every day, depending on which way you go. You know how to get home. You don't sit and deliberate over, okay, do I make this turn here or do I make this turn there? Okay, do I make this line? You know. So that's how you have to focus your life when you're making decisions and listening to your intuition. But this week, really think about a decision and only use your intuition. And then I want you to reflect on the outcome and what potential wisdom that you gain from going through that. Now let's start to wrap this up. As you journey through this week, commit to trusting your intuition in one meaningful way. I would love if you would share this podcast with others or put a comment here in the ratings and let me know what your thoughts are. I really want to build a community of women who are embracing their inner goddess, one intuitive step at a time. And if this episode resonated with you, we don't gatekeep over here. We share it with our friends who may need a reminder so that they can also trust their inner power. Because a group collectively trusting their inner power is wickedly powerful. It's insanely wonderful. And you can vibe off the energy of each other and just go up higher. And we together can create a spark of a movement of empowered women who lean and live within grace, intuition, and the divine feminine energy. And until next time, make sure you're living your best life.